Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Game of the Year podcast 2001. The year that 9/11 happened. Rest in peace to everyone who died in 9/11.
I was kind of expecting you to do something like that. But still, when you
What?
said it,
It is. It is. This is the year that changed our lives. This year is crazy. I think 9/11 is so far like it's wild, okay?
I mean, hey,
You got mad at me for the 2000 intro, so I'm like, hey, we're gonna go crazy. I should have said that 2000 was the year Y2K should have happened, but 2001, GOTYcast. Why am I so angry right now?
I don't know. It's weird to think that everyone that was born in 2001 is 21 years old this year, or 22 technically.
That's true,
21
because
from
it's gonna be
last year.
What? Fuck, I'm old, and I'm Brian.
And they don't even know what 9/11 is. And I'm Erik.
We're gonna talk about our game of the year from fucking 2001. I feel like this year, from what I remember you told me of your game of the year, I think this year is going to be maybe a little bit more talkative than 2000 is.
This will definitely be more
Especially for
talkative.
me, and I know especially for you.
It's definitely gonna be more talkative for the both of us. I'll say that.
So, but okay, Erik, I went first last time. That means you go first this time. That's how that works.
Okay. Like I said in the last episode,
Childhood.
childhood games from our childhood. This is the start, pretty much. Now, I didn't play this game that year because I didn't get a GameCube till 2 years later, I think. I can't remember on the top of my head. When it was like $95 to get it and you get 2 games because they were like, we need to sell some systems. We're not selling well.
Good old days.
But this was the this was the game to play with my brother and sister growing up. This was the game that got me invested in the series. And this is the only one in the series that's in a game of the year. Unfortunately, the rest of them are great, but just other games beat them out those years.
Mm-hmm.
That game.
Wait. But what's your runner up?
Oh, you're right.
What's your runner up first?
Before I talk about my game of the year, I guess. My runner up at the beginning of this game, this guy escapes from a helicopter and then the helicopter crashed into the two towers, so it's his fault. Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast. Now, I didn't play the Dreamcast version, but I played the version on the GameCube, which only added a couple new features, but it was pretty much the same game from the Dreamcast. That was a great time. That was another game from my childhood. It's a game that's available for purchase for backwards compatibility on Xbox. So if you want a chance to play it, do it. Especially if you get the battle expansion, online multiplayer. So much fun. Except for the robot fights and the treasure hunts. Just do the races. Just do the races. Those are the fun ones.
1/3 is great.
1/3. But like the other ones can be fun too, mostly because you could just run around and fly everywhere and hit each other. And then the mech battles are just like, which is dumb because Sonic the Hedgehog. Anywho, going back to the real game from my childhood, Super Smash Brothers Melee.
I think my copy on the GameCube is somewhere in my basement. But
only thing I don't have for my copy is the actual manual, but I do have the health and safety precautions booklet.
Oh, well, that's more important.
Yeah. I do remember the manual, just teaching you all the moves and shit. Remember manuals? And they were so cool. And now game companies are like, what's in a manual? Nothing. So we're giving you nothing.
Nothing.
Anyway, Smash Brothers Melee. This is the game that me and my brother and sister would all just sit down on our GameCube and just go for hours and hours and hours playing
For real.
this game with I've cast I believe it was 18 characters, maybe 20. Can't remember the exact number on the top of my head. Just filling up that roster from the first game, like trying to double it at the very least. Because that one was 10. And bringing in such new characters as the Ice Climbers, Princess Peach, Bowser,
Iconic, legendary.
Ness from Earthbound, a
Hell
game
yeah.
that Nintendo wants to make really hard for you to play. It's just so stupid. It's so fucking stupid, this game. Because you're just beating the shit out of each other with stupid moves with these Nintendo characters, and you're like, okay, what's going on? Why are we all doing this? To the point where like they're bringing in like the obscure characters, like they brought in Mr. Game and Watch. Brian, do you remember who Mr. Game and Watch is?
I do remember him. I wasn't like alive for when he was a thing, but I do know Mr. Game & Watch.
Exactly. The original little handheld games Nintendo made, that character. They put him in this game.
I feel like
And
this, I'm trying to remember if Melee, obviously unlike Microsoft and Sony, I feel like Melee was the beginning of like, because I remember Super Smash was a thing, but Melee was like when people were like, oh, this is serious. Like, it became like tournament, like like e-gaming, like, or what, all that stuff.
So this game from the previous one, the original Smash Brothers came out in 99. When they announced the GameCube, they announced this. And there's a reaction online still of when this was announced from E3 of that. I believe it was 2000. And people were going fucking nuts in that crowd, which is funny because it's not like saying the first Smash Brothers was like, amazing or like a real big cloud freezer. It was so different and so interesting of an experiment to do, so that when this one came out and you started announcing all these new characters, you brought in fucking Zelda, who turned into Sheik before they became two separate characters. Yeah, things like that. Brought in fucking Yoshi. Oh no, he was an original character. My bad. But Yoshi got better. Quality life improvements for the original characters for sure. And also the introduction for a Japanese only series was brought in here. Two characters from Fire Emblem, Marth and Roy. Their games were only, well, technically not true. Fire Emblem, Marth's Fire Emblem, the original Fire Emblem, was never released in the States. Never. Until the remake of it on the DS in like 2005. The first time we ever got that original version was in 2020. Yeah, 2020. And then they delisted it because, they said limited time. And I'm like, this is dumb, but okay. But then Roy's game, Roy's first appearance ever was in Smash Brothers Melee before his game came out. He's technically the youngest Smash Brothers character to ever exist. For the fact that, your game hasn't come out yet. Plenty of different game modes on here. Lots of solo stuff. They had the classic mode where you just go through and just do whatever challenges they have. And then they had like just cool like adventure mode where you go through different lands from the Nintendo universe.
I remember playing the story mode, or like, because my sister and I played Smash a lot, Smash Melee, and I remember like how like kind of eerie it was. And then like when you get to the end and you have to fight the hand, and I was like, what is happening?
Master Hand, appearing since the original game. However, I believe this was the introduction to crazy hand. If you were higher up level skilled, this motherfucker would come out and try to fight too for the first time. So you have, master hand right here, but then this motherfucker over here, and you're like, oh god, oh god. So fighting two hands at once. That was the beginning right there. And then you had like solo mission modes. You also had co-op mission modes. The trophies, the expansion of all the fucking trophies. I wanted to get all the trophies, but it's so hard to do because of RNG. The best thing of all the games. Lots of new items, lots of new Pokemon were brought in from the Pokeballs. So much different stuff. New maps. Poke Floats, one of the best maps of all time. Never came back for any of the other games. Disappointing. Bring it back. Actually, no. Just stop making Smash games. Ultimate's like the best one, so you don't need to make any more. It's the best one in a sense, but this is like my favorite. You get what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a difference between the best and like, but your personal favorite. There's just so many fond memories with this game. And this isn't my original case. My sister and brother actually still have our original copy. And we wrote our names inside the copy when we were kids to signify this is ours.
Don't take it.
Yeah. Smash Brothers Melee. Nintendo doesn't want you to play it unless you're playing it on a GameCube. So good luck trying to get it because it's very expensive. But I'm glad I got this one. I did. I'll give it a smooch.
I mean, yeah, if you want one of our copies, we'll sign it for you, but it's $1,000 a piece. So,
a piece. What do we?
So your
so it's
copy's $1,000
$2,000
and mine's $1,000.
Yeah, so
because I have it too.
Oh, okay.
I'm
okay.
shocked that I have it. That was one of the ones that I genuinely was like, I'm never getting rid of this. Because like with you, I think that was the one that got me into Smash. I'm not huge into Smash because I think the only one I've played since is Brawl, but it's only because I haven't gotten the Wii U or the Switch version rather. But that game is very impactful for me. A game that was more impactful for me, besides my runner-up, Animal Crossing, which is my runner-up for 2001, the OG Animal Crossing. Again, there's a lot of GameCube games that were in that camp, because I remember my sister got a GameCube before I got an original Xbox. And wink, wink. And so, a lot of my earlier memories, like besides like the PS1 and the handhelds, was from the GameCube.
So, mistake. Animal Crossing came out in 2001 in Japan, 2002 in the States. I should have known because I looked it up for Super Smash Melee, but not for Animal Crossing. So I picked Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex for my runner-up. I just picked it quickly because that was the one game that I noticed in 2001. So yeah, there's the fix.
But 2001, there's a game that I did not play the year it came out because I was a child. And I think my parents had to realize that it really wasn't that bad of an M-rated game. It is, a game that's a part of, my favorite franchise of all time. It's a part of my body as well. Halo Combat Evolved, because we have to add the Combat Evolved. Yes, Halo. Xbox was like the first time in my life where I was like, I want to get a video game console. Before then, my parents would just get us video game consoles, but that was like I want an Xbox. I want an Xbox. I still have the original. I have the original Xbox downstairs. And I never had the fat controllers. I always had like the second controller they came out with, not the one that was like this size. Exactly. But if you had an Xbox, you had Halo. You had Halo, no matter what. And this game was one of those games that I just remember being like, I want Halo. I want Halo. I want Halo. I want Halo. Because it was just so talked about. And if you watch my rank 'em of Halo games, you'll know how much I love Bungie and how much I am sad and I appreciate Bungie in, retrospect to what we've been getting with Halo recently. But this game, in my opinion, I'm trying to remember where I had it on my list. It's one of my favorite Halo games. I think from a mission standpoint, it's fantastic. It definitely had older game, not tropes, but back in the day, I feel like there were certain video games that like they built a map and it was a lot of backtracking. Like that's what Halo really is like Halo has like you get on a map and there's some linear missions, but a lot of the missions in the original Halo are you kind of go to one place, then you go to another place, then you go back to that one place. A lot of backtracking. And I just have so many memories of knowing like where everything was and just every like in the music cues, especially the Halo music, it's undeniable. Yeah. Like it's incredible the memories I have playing this game. Again, it's just every like detail of this game is so familiar to me. You were talking about how you would play Smash all the time. I remember when we'd get people over my house, I'd play split screen Halo and we just play multiplayer because I didn't have like LAN parties. Xbox Live wasn't a thing. So like I think you were part of that. I remember Mitch, old friend of mine, Mitch, an old friend of mine, Trevor, we would all just play like split screen Halo. And a lot of the times we weren't even trying to like verse each other. We would just mess around and just run around on like Blood Gulch or like, I'm trying to think of the other maps that are very famous from Halo. Just from like this was the first game that I remember playing where like there's that story and the characters and Master Chief was always one of the coolest video game characters to me. And again, just all those little cues of like the Flood being introduced and anything with like Sergeant Johnson and the weapon sounds. In this footage, you could specifically tell I am playing it on the Master Chief Collection, but I played it with the OG graphics because I'm like, I am not going to play it with new graphics. Damn it, that's not how I played it. And like the way that like you can like 4-tap a hunter with like a pistol, the pistol was super overpowered in that game. It's just so funny. But like, I don't know. I think Halo is one of those weird series now. It's so much bigger and so much different than what Bungie originally kind of conceived. It was like one of the biggest things of all time, and just seeing where it is now, it's somewhat sad, it's somewhat interesting, it's kind of good, whatever.
It's a shadow of what it used to be.
It is a shadow of what it used to be, and I can say that because me being like the diehard, like I remember playing 4 with you, I remember playing 5. Luckily, you didn't have to go through that, and then Infinite, which was kind of like it was such a hard thing because I really loved it, and then I would hate it. And then I would love it. And then I would hate it. Like Infinite, I think is one of those, like, I see what you're doing. And then what are you doing? I see what you're doing, but what are you doing? Halo 1 is just so like playing through it again. It's just one of those, like, it's just so like, it's almost pitch perfect to me. Like the way that the flow of the game, each level has very different things going on with it. Like some of them you're stealthy. Some of them you're just running and gunning. A lot of them are all about discovery. Again, the enemy types were fascinating. Again, this was like one of the first real video games that I played. Because like with you, a lot of them were fighting games and like a lot of these Nintendo games or Pokemon games. Not to say none of those are bad or like good or whatever. But I remember Halo being like, I want Halo. I want an Xbox. This is like important to me. And just playing it, it still holds up. And I mean, some of it is still very old school design, again, with all the kind of running around the same map. But I mean, overall, I just, it gets weird when I talk about things that I've talked about in like a Rankum or in a podcast, because I did the same thing with my concerts from last year. We had a whole podcast about the My Chemical Romance show. So I felt weird talking about it in my top 5. Because I'm like, I already talked about it for like 20 minutes. But I mean, if you want to hear my more in-depth opinions on Halo Combat Evolved, you can go to that rank 'em. But yeah, I mean, this game started my love for a franchise that then has been tested very much since, like, you know, after Halo Reach. But yeah, Halo Combat Evolved. This game's great. I love it. It's fantastic. I feel like, again, everyone had this game at one point. Everyone played this game at one point. I feel like this is like when you talk about certain video game series, I think the first Halo's one where like anyone can easily be like, oh yeah, that mission. Oh yeah, that mission. Like later on, it kind of people sort of, you know, tapered off. But this game, it's like everyone knew. Everyone knew what was going on. Or you had someone that annoyed you about it. So but yeah, Halo Combat Evolved. Maybe we'll have an interesting conversation about Halo sometime soon, but just like with you and Zelda.
Yeah, you know, worst games. You know, we'll do that next year.
Yeah, exactly. Just for 2002, we're not going to do game of the year. We're just going to go, now we're going to tell you what the worst game of this year was. You'll never know what our favorite game of the year is.
Yeah, that's a lie.
But yeah, thank you again so much for watching. What are your favorite games of 2001? Leave them in the comments below. Again, help us out. There is plenty. 2001 was a really interesting time for games, like going into that, you know. Yeah, I feel
it was
like
a really interesting time for everything, but you know,
never forget.
Like, comment, subscribe.
You know, help us out, because then yes, please help your boys out. You know, we're doing this for all of you, and we're doing it for the fun of the games and our childhood memories. And to childhood memories, I say, I fare thee a nice toodaloo.
A nice toodaloo.